I work as a night auditor at a hotel that doesn't exist in the morning. I've been working as a night auditor for about 3 years now. It's a simple enough job. I sit at the front desk from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., balance the books, print receipts, and make sure the guests are comfortable. Most nights are quiet, just the hum of the vending machine, the occasional buzz of the automatic doors, and maybe a drunk guest stumbling in at 2 a.m. But about 6 months ago, I got hired at a hotel I had never heard of before. It wasn't listed on Google Maps. The manager who interviewed me never gave me a business card. He just handed me a crisp white envelope with the word instructions written on it in looping handwriting. Inside was my schedule, a list of policies, and one single line at the bottom that I thought was a joke at the time. Do not remain on the property after sunrise. The first night felt ordinary enough, but the longer I worked, the more I realized how wrong everything was. The hotel was too quiet. It stood off a lonely stretch of highway where no other businesses were visible, just a narrow road that seemed to disappear into trees. The building itself was grand, at least 3 stories high, with velvet carpets, brass elevators, and chandeliers that gave off a faint golden glow. But the guests, it was the guests who unsettled me most. They arrived without cars, walking out of the darkness with their luggage in hand, their faces pale and waxy like they had been traveling for days. They never asked for Wi-Fi codes, never requested directions. They only asked for their room keys in whispers, like they didn't want to be overheard. And once they checked in, I never saw them leave. One night, around 3 a.m., I decided to check the hallways during my rounds. The carpet absorbed every step like the hotel itself didn't want me to be heard. At first, everything was normal, doors lined up neatly, little brass numbers shining. But then, halfway down the corridor, the numbers shifted. Room 209 was followed by room 312, then 407, then back to 111. The halls twisted in ways that didn't make sense, looping into themselves, stretching longer when I tried to return. When I finally got back to the front desk, the lobby clock read 3:03 a.m., still the same minute I had left in. But the real horror is what happens at dawn. The first time, I didn't notice. I was too focused on finishing the night's paperwork. Around 6:45, the guests started leaving, only not through the front doors. They drifted through the walls, stepping into the wallpaper and vanishing like smoke. I stared, frozen, the fluorescent lights flickering above me. By 7 o'clock sharp, when my shift was supposed to end, the entire building began to dissolve. The velvet carpets melted into the floor. The chandeliers evaporated into dust. The desk in front of me shivered and fell apart into fragments of ash. I sprinted for the exit, heart pounding, and just as the first ray of sunlight touched the horizon, I stumbled into an empty field. No building. No guests. Just grass, dirt, and an old for sale sign leaning on a broken post. Every morning, it's the same. The hotel doesn't exist. But when the clock strikes 11 p.m., when I come back to that same field, the building is standing there again. Perfectly intact, like it's been waiting for me. The guests still arrive. The rooms still twist. And I still sit behind the front desk, balancing the books of a hotel that isn't real. I don't know who owns it. I don't know where the guests come from. I only know one thing: if I ever stay past sunrise, I won't be leaving that field. That warning wasn't something anyone ever told me, it was something I felt, as if the walls whispered it each night, pressing into my chest until I could hardly breathe. Every time I glanced at the long, faded clock behind the front desk, its hands ticking unnaturally slow, the dread inside me grew. At exactly 5:59 a.m., the guests would vanish. Not check out. Not leave their rooms. Vanish. Their bags, their clothes, their perfume in the hallway air, all gone in an instant. And when I looked out the window, the once glowing city would be nothing but a barren field stretching endlessly under the pale light of dawn. That was my cue. That was the moment I'd grab my coat, step outside, and walk until the hotel blinked out of existence behind me. But sometimes, I've wondered what would happen if I didn't leave. What if I stayed? Would I become a part of the field, absorbed into its silence? Or worse, would I wake up in the morning as one of the guests, eyes empty, waiting for the night so I could shuffle down the hall and smile at the new auditor like nothing was wrong? The thought gnaws at me every night, and sometimes I feel the temptation, like the building itself wants me to give in, to become part of its endless cycle. The guests never speak much to me. They're polite, but their conversations feel rehearsed, like they're trying too hard to mimic something they once knew. A businessman will ask for a wake-up call, though the phones never ring in this place. A young couple will check in for their honeymoon, but they never laugh, never touch, never even look at each other once they're in their room. I've heard muffled sobs from behind doors that should be locked, and once, I swear I saw a child running through the hall who wasn't on any of the registries. Their eyes. They always linger on me just a moment too long, as if they're waiting for me to ask them the wrong question. The hotel itself changes. I don't mean redecorations or maintenance. I mean entire wings appear and vanish. One night, I'll walk past the ballroom on my rounds, hear the faint swell of music, see chandeliers swaying like dancers, and the next night that corridor won't exist. Sometimes a stairwell leads me to a floor that isn't on the blueprint, a place where every door is locked, and if I listen closely, I hear breathing on the other side. Heavy, slow, patient breathing. I never stay long enough to find out whose it is. There's a ledger in the back office. I wasn't supposed to find it, but one night when the guests were unusually still, I went digging. It wasn't like any guest book I'd ever seen. The names were scrawled in different handwritings, some so faded they looked centuries old. Others were written in languages I didn't recognize. But what chilled me most was seeing my own name, written at the very bottom. My handwriting. My pen strokes. I don't remember writing it. I don't remember ever touching that ledger. And yet, there it was, as if I'd already checked myself in and hadn't realized it yet. I tried quitting once. I told myself I wouldn't go back, that I'd find another job. Maybe something mindless like stocking shelves at a grocery store. But the next night, when the clock struck 11 p.m., I found myself standing in the lobby again, keys jangling in my pocket, uniform pressed. I don't remember driving there. I don't even remember leaving my apartment. The hotel. It doesn't let go once you've worked for it. It pulls you back, again and again, until the thought of leaving feels like trying to peel your own skin away. The worst part is, I think it's preparing me for something. Each night, the silence lasts longer. The halls grow darker. The guests seem more restless, their gazes more hollow, their footsteps heavier. I've started to notice that their eyes aren't always the same color from one night to the next. Sometimes, when I hand them their keys, their fingers brush mine, and their skin feels icy, as if it hasn't held warmth in decades. They always whisper thank you in voices that don't quite match their lips. And then there are the mirrors. The hotel has them everywhere, in the lobby, behind the bar, even in the elevators. I used to avoid looking, but now I can't help it. My reflection doesn't move like me anymore. It's always a second behind, watching me too intently. Last night, when I looked into the gilded mirror in the dining room, my reflection didn't blink. It just smiled, wide and hungry, while I stood frozen. For a moment, I swear it mouthed words I couldn't hear, but I understood them all the same. Stay. So I keep working. I keep signing in, checking guests, walking the impossible halls, because I know what waits if I don't. Every night, I balance on a thin line between duty and disappearance. And every dawn, I step back into the field, trembling, grateful that I made it out again. But the truth is clawing at me more violently each night. One day, whether by choice or by mistake, I won't leave when the sun rises. And when that happens, I won't just lose myself. I'll become part of the hotel's ledger, another name scrawled in fading ink, waiting for the next night auditor to stumble into the same endless shift. Because the hotel doesn't need guests to exist. It only needs someone to work the desk. That realization has been gnawing at me like a slow, persistent sickness, a splinter buried too deep under the skin to ever work free. The guests, their hollow eyes, their voices that never quite fit their mouths, the way they always seem to know my name before I offer it, are not the point. They are ornaments, props dressed in black coats and fading dresses, playing at being weary travelers so that I keep the books balanced, keep the keys lined up, keep pretending that this place is tethered to some shared reality. The only thing that matters is that someone sits at the desk, night after night, eyes open, waiting for dawn. Because when I am here, the hotel breathes. The walls hold. The light bulbs hum with their strange orange glow. The whispers stay behind the wallpaper instead of spilling into the hall. My presence is the lock. I've tried to understand it, to piece together some pattern that explains why this place clings to me. I've read the guestbook more times than I can count. Some names are ordinary, James, Evelyn, Michael, while others are impossible strings of letters, as if someone pressed their face into the typewriter keys. Some dates go back 100 years, maybe more, but the ink never fades, never smudges, as though the pages themselves resist decay. Once, I tried tearing a page out. The moment I pulled, the lights dimmed to almost nothing, the walls shuddered, and the whispers grew so loud I thought they would split my skull. I pressed the page back in and smoothed it with trembling hands. The lights brightened again. The hotel forgave me. But I understood then, the book isn't just a record. It's a ledger. A contract. And I think my name is in it now. I never wrote it, but I've seen the way the pages ripple when I pass, like breath stirring them. I never dare to flip too far, because I'm terrified I'll find my own handwriting, or worse, something written in that impossible scrawl, claiming me as its employee for as long as the world spins. Maybe I already belong to it. Maybe that's why I can't quit, why I keep coming back night after night, no matter how much I swear to myself I'll walk away before the shift begins. The job isn't in my pocket or in my schedule, it's inside me. The truth that haunts me most, though, is what happens after sunrise. I have never stayed to see the sun hit the roof, never pushed beyond that moment when the light begins to creep over the distant horizon and the whole building starts to recoil. The air grows thinner, like a dying breath. The floors groan underfoot, as though shrinking away. If I linger too long, I feel something tug at me, not pulling my body exactly, but the marrow inside it, the part that keeps me human. I've always left before it could finish. I don't want to know what I'd look like if I stayed, what I'd become in the daylight. But there's one memory that unsettles me more than any guest, more than any whisper, the night I caught my reflection. You see, the hotel doesn't have mirrors, not really. The bathrooms have fogged glass where mirrors should be, and the only reflective surfaces are the darkened windows. But once, when I was delivering a key to room 6, I passed a wall sconce and caught a flicker of myself in the glass covering the bulb. For a split second, it wasn't me. The uniform was the same, the tired posture was the same, but the eyes were wrong. They weren't mine. They were brighter, sharper, and they didn't blink when I did. That version of me smiled, just a little, like it knew something I didn't. Then the light flared, and it was gone. I dropped the key. My hands shook so badly I couldn't pick it up for nearly a minute. Ever since then, I've wondered, maybe there isn't just one night auditor. Maybe there are countless others, scattered across endless versions of this place, each one trapped in their own cycle. And maybe, when I glanced at that reflection, I wasn't seeing myself at all, I was seeing the one who failed, the one who stayed past dawn. I don't know who owns the hotel. I don't know if it even belongs to this world, or if it's some parasite that feeds on the edges of time. I only know that every night I walk into that field, the hotel will be waiting, standing tall against the horizon as if it had always been there. I will step inside. I will sit at the desk. The clock will strike midnight, and the guests will arrive, one after another, each carrying pieces of stories I'll never fully understand. And when the night is over, when the sun threatens to rise, I will leave, because I have to. Because I can't stay. Because if I ever do, if I ever linger in that place after morning comes, I won't just be the night auditor anymore. I will be part of the hotel. And the hotel doesn't need guests to exist. It only needs me.